あれはゴジラ。
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Monster Report Live. The Monster Report's a show highlighting those entertaining creatures of film history, like this guy here. And so today we are going to be talking some Godzilla Minus One, but specifically Godzilla Minus One minus color. If you've had the chance to see that, if you haven't had the chance, welcome. Here's Nick Adam, and of course, we're glad you're here on the Monster Report Live. And Happy New Year! It has been January, and here we are at the end of it, and I have not had a live show yet. Done some pre-recorded shows, but no live shows yet. But to all of you, it's a new year, and it's time things starts to report live and doing more live shows, box days, trailers, all kinds of content that's happening. And thank you for your subscription here. We're getting closer to that 100,000 mark every day, and I really appreciate all the fans out there who have made this possible, and of course all the love for kaiju content creation. And we have kaiju content creators here that we're going to be talking about our reaction and discussing Godzilla Minus One in general, but because we had the recent minus color version, the black and white version that has come out recently, we're going to be kind of sticking with that somewhat of the subject. But anything kaiju, so if you're in the chat, talk to us, give us some questions, give us some get the discussion going. And so proud to bring in the one and only Adam Griffin from Thirsty Thursday Toys. Good to have you, Adam.
Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
And we have and we Matt from Inside 7 or Sector 7 on YouTube, all kinds of places. How you doing, Matt?
Not too shabby. Thanks for having me on.
All right, excellent. Want to give you guys the chance to introduce yourselves and tell us where we can find you, who you are in the fandom. Let's start. Tell you the audience a little about yourselves. You've been on the show before, but we might have a new audience today. So tell them who you are and where they can find you and learn more about you and your projects.
Go ahead.
Oh, is it me first?
Sure.
No, Matt.
Okay.
With you.
Well, sure. I'm Adam Griffin. I run a YouTube channel, Thirsty Thursday Toys. I make mixed drinks and do toy reviews based on the figures or drinks based on the toys for like kaiju, all sorts of movie monsters. And I did a minus one, and now I got to figure out how to make it in black and white now. So that's a new challenge for me. So we'll see how long it takes me to change the color there. But yeah, that's me.
Very nice.
And absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Subscribe. Yeah.
No, we'll definitely have to check that out. I'm not much of a drink guy, but you know what? If they're kaiju themed, I might have to, try some with minus one. That's one way I have not experienced it yet. So I'm Matt. I wrote a comic called Sector 7 with my partner and artist Ron Mozicki, and essentially it is a new kaiju universe where we have in our first story arc we'll have 7 giant monsters that we hope to debut. We're going to be launching in a couple of months a crowdfunding campaign on Kickstarter. You can find us at InsideSector7.com to sign up for updates on that. And yeah, we're looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Excellent. You'll see that InsideSector7.com URL right there on Matt's profile there. And so definitely check those guys out, and we'll have the chance to talk a little bit more about going on their side of things, but definitely check them out. We've got Loosely Collected in the chat. Jonathan, good to have you. Greetings and salivations. I like that. Yeah, that'll work. because Adam has made you a nice drink. Yes, I am interested in knowing this black version of the minus. And with that in mind, we're going to talk about minus color. So I find this interesting. I don't know where it is that I said this live stream, but I noted that somewhere along the lines, boy, it'd be interesting to see this in black and white. I don't know where I said it. Maybe I said it to myself. Maybe I dreamed it, but I really thought I said it either on one of my shows or someone else's show that I was a guest on. And if somebody can go into the archive and that out, because I still can't remember. And now here it's happening. And it's happened, and it began in Japan, and then it came over here we're still in the midst of it at the time of this recording. And all of us have had the chance to see it. And of course, there are spoilers today. Spoilers are fine. You've seen it in color, both in black and white. I want to get you guys' reactions to this. So, Adam, why don't you start? You've seen it in color, got the chance to yesterday, so it's still fresh. See this in black and white. What kind of different feel did you get from this, and your reaction to it? Did a different kind of in you? Overall experience?
I want to start off by saying I prefer it in color, but I'm also a very color focused person, so that could just be me. Not that there was anything wrong with the lack of color, but I just, I prefer color for most things. But there were a lot of things that I picked up on this time that I never saw in the previous 4 showings, and I'm not sure if those were always there or if those were emphasized and heightened. Like, this is the first time, and you said spoilers, so I just second time spoilers. This is the first time I saw him eject from the plane. I didn't catch that in the first 4.
Okay.
I mean, I missed it in the first one, and then I was looking, but I didn't see it. So I don't know if they added that in there, or if that was always there and now I just noticed it, or if they really played around with the contrast. So there's a lot of those things with the heightened contrast, because it wasn't just like, let's slap a black and white filter on it. They really went through and enhanced a lot of different things. They put kind of like, a vignette around it. So it's definitely different, and it felt, and maybe it was just my theater, but also like a little grainier. So it had that kind of more vintage feel to it. So it's a different experience. So it's kind of a lateral move there for sure. So it was more than just black and white, and I did appreciate that. That's my initial.
Yeah, this is your, and you mentioned it was your 5th time with this one seeing it, Matt, this is time as well. So tell us your reaction to seeing it in black and white.
Yeah, actually, I'm pretty much in line with you. I do prefer it in color. And I think part of that was just because they created such an amazing palette for that film. Like, some of the scenes are just genuinely beautiful. Like, I remember when he first gets the job, and shortly thereafter there's like this montage with some music, and he's coming home on the motorcycle, and you just see Noriko in the sun, and it has just got these beautiful colors in it, and I found myself missing that just a little bit. But I do want to emphasize, this film is absolutely a masterpiece in either color format. Like, it is just absolutely wonderful to watch. And I did like how they went through and enhanced certain scenes, because in college I actually took black and white photography, which was really cool. I got to learn a lot about like how to make those things pop, and to see them go back and enhance the contrast in different areas, add a little burn in some places, was really, really cool. I don't think they did that perfectly throughout. There were a couple of shots or scenes that I felt were a little bit muddy. But other than that, I thought they did a really fantastic job, and it was much, much better than simply desaturating it.
Totally agree. And I'll say this, there is that kind of bias when it comes to black and white, that if it's in black and white, I'm already instantly bored with it. I used to teach high school, and I would tell my students about a film, King Kong 1933, and oh no, old King Kong, it's black and white and its visual effects are bad, it's just like, it's bad. I was like, bad for what? Compared to what? In 1933, when this was a new technology, and to get color was really expensive, and we did it as the way to do filmmaking, and but there was always this nostalgia for it, and I'm like, just watch it, and I might show them a few scenes from King Kong, and it was like they're locked in. They forget about the fact that it was in black and white, because compelling, and that's what makes all the difference. And you can immerse yourself into a black and white film, even despite all that. And I want to talk a little about some other black and white films that maybe we've had experiences with. We've got Jonathan talking about his experience, The Black Knight. Did not, so his perspective is only from this version of it. Interesting. Hope they put both versions on Blu-ray. I couldn't imagine they wouldn't. Really, yeah.
It would really be a shame if they didn't at this point.
Absolutely right. Why it would be I think it's like just a click of a button, and then it switches to black and white. Tokusatsu BTS, good to have you. Supposed to catch mine tonight, had other plans. Oh, you've got a few days left, so Tokusatsu, get out there and check this out. It is well worth it, but as Matt said, it could be on the home video release.
Yeah, it would really be a shame if they didn't end up doing that. It would feel, let's see, wants a blue and green duotone version of the film. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you to explain this.
I love blue and green. So that's anything blue and green, I'm there.
All right. I wondered if you had maybe a color, like a color blindness of some sort that maybe this version would help you out with, but just your preference. Oh, this is one I want to tackle. So the Super 7 Minus Color Ultimate, and I'm sure Marvin probably knows already that it is sold out. Super 7, thank you very much. I'll actually mention this in my Super 7. I'm done pre-ordering, so it's possible that there will be a -1. There was the -1 color, and there was the -1 that minus color variant that's out there. And I love my X Plus, so I'm kind of good. I wouldn't mind Super 7. It ran down to ordering from Super 7 because I'm tired of waiting 14 months or something, and then it suddenly comes out in Big Bad Toy Store or wherever else, and it's no more expensive than what they were doing in pre-order. And I see people getting it before I got it. So I'm kind of like, why did I order it? Why did I bother with it? It was a gift, so I can't really complain about that. But any of your gentlemen have something to say about Super 7 or the variant?
I did order the minus color. I was like, I have the Monster Arts, and I'm like, I don't need that and the Ultimates, but since it's a different color, I'm like, okay, I can do both.
Yeah, the super articulated figures are not really my main focus. I go more for sculpt. Like I would love to invest in some X Plus. It's hasn't been in the cards for me, but I definitely prefer like more stationary figures or maybe less articulated, like the Bandais and stuff like that. But I think Super 7, they're well-made figures. They're cool. I'd like to get some, but I think they're a little bit pricier than where I think they should be at. I've looked at them compared to like the Haya toys, and we were spoiled several years ago with the NECAs, and things like that. And I'm just like, man, I don't think it's on par with the Monster Arts, which, maybe then I'd think about it at that price point, but I just don't think they're there yet.
That's fair.
You're right. The Super 7 being that, I think they're about $85 for all of their Toho Ultimates, about right? Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah. So
and
it's
like I've got a couple. Oh, sorry, Nick. I didn't mean to step over you there, but I've got a couple of their Ninja Turtles, which are fantastic, but they're like a third of the price.
Yeah. You definitely think about that. Yeah.
Oh no, not to go on a down that road further, but they said it was something like, well, they're bigger figures, they got the tails and stuff, it's more material, but it's the same amount as the the Tyrannosaurus Zord, all those Zords. The Zords cost the same as all the other figures, but it's the same amount of material, number of accessories and kind of stuff as the Godzilla stuff, but for $30 less. I don't know. I'm still buying them because I'm a sucker, but
I know, I want to, because that's my thing about the Super 7. I still love them, but I'm just not going to pre-order any longer. And it sounds like they're not having any problem selling the pre-orders. Loosely collected, Jonathan, I will say that it felt right in black and white. I'm trying to portray it, take you to this world, to that time period. You did kind of feel immersed in the 1940s by watching something like this. Why? The same reason we watched, Godzilla 54. We're taken back to the 1950s, just the way the film grain and grit and everything, the imperfections. You mentioned actually, Adam, that it had that grainy look to it, and I think what I understand, and somebody in the chat, the collective knowledge of the internet can answer this, that it wasn't just color corrected for black and white, that it had a 16 millimeter filter looked so that even that pure look, so that it had a film quality of that time, or at least of an earlier time, but to make it look 16 millimeter, but not too far back. Because you even watch the original Gojira, we still have a lot of film dirt and scratches that definitely are permanent. There is no fix, but it's fine because we've seen it enough that we love it. Even when it's on Blu-ray, it's as highly preserved as it possibly could be, but there is no fixing those imperfections. So, they gave us still look, but with filter and of course no color. Marvin grabbed the Super 7. Also, Jonathan's talking about Super 7. He feels like it's overpriced on almost everything they make. Even the reaction toys, when you think about the little reaction figures.
Yes.
I don't know, $20, $25 for something big. I get it. Autistic Lizard Productions, good having you. Brendan.
Oh, sorry.
You're fine.
No, the only time I picked up those reactions were when I found them on sale at Target. They were like $11, I think. But yeah, other than that, I'm sitting there going, why is this a $20-something toy? Again, using the Turtles as a comparison, they're producing the retro figures that are using more materials than the reaction figures, and certainly a little bit better sculpts and articulation, and those are at a $10 price point. So Super 7 just really valuing their stuff highly there.
And something on that, I loved a few months back, I don't know, maybe it was even a year back, when we got He-Man Origins, the Masters of the Universe Origins in retail in Walmart, and I go down the aisle and I see nostalgic Transformers, retro Transformers, G.I. Joe, Turtles, and Master of the Universe. And I'm looking at this like, what year is it? I feel like I'm Robin Williams in Jumanji. What year is it?
It's 1986.
And it's like amazing. Yes, I can't believe it. I'm back to my childhood. I was 5 then. So yes, I was in that toy aisle and couldn't reach the toys. Now I'm an adult and I can pick all that I want. But it's like back in the toy aisle, even as an adult, feeling like a kid again. And so, yeah, that's some of those still around. Some of the Star Trek figures, the Playmate Star Trek figures were in the aisle too. So I thought that was, again, throwing back to my childhood there. So back to Godzilla Minus One and get some more chat in here. And then I'm going to go in reverse order. Matt, you're going to tell me a little about some other black and white might enjoy. Fred Hollis is in the chat. I bring up your, there he goes. He likes both the color version and the black and white version. Black and white version reminds him of the original 54. Yep, exactly. Yeah, it took us back to that era, atomic era, if you will. Jonathan is also a more Master fan. I love the classics line. I do some videos on that. Watch them price up the figures they made in that style. Motu, Silverhawks, Thundercats. Yeah. Easy to burn a hole in the wallet. But we keep coming back for more, right? What is wrong with us? So yeah, Matt, tell me about black and white films you enjoy watching, whether they're monster related or monster adjacent or not even, and how you feel like maybe the black and white, whether it's taking you back to that era or modern films. There are some modern films that do this very thing where they style scenes or the entire movie in black. What impact does it have on you and some of the movies that you enjoy watching in black and white?
You know, it's funny. Anyone that knows me, I'm a huge fan of like Mystery Science Theater 3000, and you know, they watch a plethora of black and white films, and I think what it does is it just kind of reminds me of a simpler time in filmmaking. In fact, we're watching. My students are watching To Kill a Mockingbird as we read through the book,
Good one.
And just you watch it and there's this different feel to it where it's still very impactful, but the way the way cinematography was back then is just so different. And it's funny because they're even you know, these students they're kind of entranced by it. It's so different from what they're used to. And I think you know, that's what really appeals to me about that era is just the way scenes are shot, the way conversations and dialogue are shot. It's much slower paced. It doesn't feel as frantic. You're not changing camera angles every 0.5 seconds and things like that. So I could list probably 100 movies that I really appreciate that are in black and white, including you know, the early Godzilla films, of course, and that. But it's interesting to me because in terms of Minus One, I think that was the cinematography was the part that really stopped the black and white from being as immersive as I thought it was going to be for me, was because it still looked like a 2023 movie just without any color. So I thought that was interesting to me. And part of the reason I still prefer the color version over the black and white. But those are some of my thoughts as far as that goes.
All right. So yeah, Adam, talk to me about some other black and white films and yeah, explain, you know, kind of what it does immersively to you, and maybe some of those exams back to you that way.
Well, I'm sitting here, I'm like, what other black and white movies have I seen that like I can remember? I mean, you got like 12 Angry Men, you got King Kong. That's it. That's all that's coming up. I know I've seen more. They haven't stuck with me. And I think like all the things that Matt was saying about the things he appreciates about it, it's got, you know, a slower pace, it's got different cinematography. Those things are not what draws me in to films. So I'm so used to that frantic editing, big explosions, loud music kind of stuff that I enjoy in cinema. Not that black and white films are wrong by any means. It's just I don't gravitate towards those. So again, I'm like, what else? What other things have I seen? But it's awesome.
Well, obviously the
you're showing
original.
those students.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
And
sorry.
I don't know if I lost it. We have a terrible
terrible
delay, and I'm sorry about this.
We're cutting in and out here.
Yeah.
No,
You were
it's
talking
okay.
about
You are lagging a bit. So, I like I said, I could probably go through, 100 different films in black and white that I've been used to. Kaiju films, started off that way. Godzilla Raids Again. The first Gamera film was still shot in black and white, even though that was a little bit, that was actually after King Kong versus Godzilla. So we had our first Godzilla movie in color before we got a Gamera movie in color that came out after the fact. So just a lot of different stuff. But I mean, it's hard to recreate that feeling of like that 50s, 60s, B movie era. Teenagers from Outer Space comes to mind as one of them, which is featured on Mystery Science Theater 3000. I'm so thankful for that show because it introduced me to so many things I never would have seen probably otherwise. But there's just this plethora of great cinema, and what's really nice about a lot of those films of that era is they're really relaxing. Like you can almost take a nap and watch them because they're very low stakes. Like the drama is not like get your heart racing levels of drama because you're so disconnected from it as as being realistic, where Minus One I don't feel that way about it. It has that black and white feel, but you're still very immersed in the action and what's happening. So it's really kind of crazy to go back and forth. Although there's been a few modern films, I think of them as modern anyway. Schindler's List, if I remember correctly, was filmed in black and white. Growing up and obviously again stylistic choice to fit the era and really kind of the bleak nature of the story itself.
Yeah, Schindler's List, that's one I own it. I haven't been able to bring myself to watch it yet. Like one of these days. I'm never in the mood for that, like why would I do that to myself tonight?
Right. Yeah, you got to be in the mood for the heavy. It's deep.
Yeah,
but
it's
with
fantastic. Sorry. It's a fantastic movie. That's all I was going to say.
With Minus One minus color, speaking of like the effects and the filters and stuff, one thing I noticed here is like green screen a few different times, like water coming up on the boats. Like I could see the clear line where it's like looked almost like what rotoscoped in kind of thing, or like especially at the beginning when they're on Odo Island and you see them and it's like the skyline behind them. I'm like, that's a clear green screen. And I don't remember seeing that in the color version. So I'm like, maybe I missed it because, now that I've seen it 5 times, I'm more aware of that kind of stuff. Or if something happened with the change from the color to the black and white, or did they do that on purpose to make it seem like it's more older effects? And I don't know. But I was like, it's not just me. I'm seeing it a few times here.
You might be right about the idea that it just becomes more apparent in the black and white because of that reason. The edges might become a little sharper because now you don't have other colors that will be blending into that edge line. So it's hard to tell if they could fix some of those things or if they could fix them. Switch out. Some of that was actually planned because they did release it in Japan before, but I still think that they took my advice from wherever they heard me say it. I'm just thinking that Toho's listening to me, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just putting myself up. I want to throw out some recommendations in black and white that at least give the chance to. The Creature from the Black Lagoon trilogy is incredible, and it's all in black and white, and it's a 3D film shot. A 3D set of films shot underwater. First, 3D underwater to be shot that way. And of course, it's that gave them that immersive experience of seeing the creature coming at them, and they're like, whoa, they didn't know what was going on. Another one would be the Thing from Another World, the pre. It was not the precursor, but The Thing. John Carpenter's is a remake of. And so The Thing from Another World is another great one, especially in the dialogue, because even John Carpenter and people who know classic monster films will tell you the overlapping dialogue of that film just brings you in. And that some of these guys don't take their job seriously enough when there's a monster out there trying to kill them. But it's a great black and white film. You mentioned modern films that are black and white, like The Schindler's List, which had that really cool. I hope I'm not spoiling it for you, Adam, because if you haven't seen it, there is a portion of something that is colored to get your attention.
Like Pleasantville.
The frame. Yeah, so, a stylistic choice in there. A more modern movie would be Good Night and Good Luck. It's the Edward R. Murrow story, and, in the McCarthy era of communism, and so reporter that worked for, I think it was CBS, that was just stirring up a lot of trouble by pointing out what was going on with this anti-communist time, that was happening. And it's really cool. It's that's starring the Dre Thairn, who plays General Stentz in 14 and in 2019 as well. He's a great actor, and he just immerses himself in that part perfectly. But that's a more modern black and white film chosen for that same reason, to bring you to a era. And it's cool to see Robert Downey Jr. as a supporting character in a black and white film. And so, yeah, there were things that they did. But, going, really recommend about anything Akira Kurosawa, especially for me, The Hidden Fortress. Of course, Seven Samurai is what everyone kind of talks about, because that's the big one. That's the big action movie that Kurosawa put together. And you're going to see a lot of they're Toho, films. So you're going to see a lot of your Toho studio actors crossing over with Godzilla in that. But the parallels with other films that have taken from Kurosawa's style, storytelling, characters, story arcs, especially Hidden Fortress, and then go watch Star Wars: A New Hope. You will just absolutely love that. I've been just talking a storm, because when you get me started up. So, Andrew, good to have you. Young Frankenstein, more modern film that was done. Yeah.
Yep, you're right.
One of the best comedies ever.
I forgot that was black and white.
If you haven't seen it,
Yeah.
See, you forgot.
One that
it was so good, right?
If there's any fans,
yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, if there's any fans of I Am Legend out there, you should go back, and I think it's even public domain. You could probably watch it for free on archive.org. Is The Last Man on Earth, with Vincent Price, classic horror actor, black and white film, and that is actually based on the same story as I Am Legend. So really, really cool movie. It has a great old school feel to it. So if anyone's a fan of the more modern ones, another black and white film, if I remember right, was if there's any Tim Burton fans out there, was Frankenweenie. It's kind of like the Nightmare Before Christmas, Corpse Bride animation style, and it has a very B movie vibe to it. There's actually a ton of B movie references in that movie, including a Gamera reference in it. So if you guys haven't seen that and you're into Tim Burton at all, that is a really cool example of modern black and white filmmaking there.
I haven't seen it, but I have the turtle monster figure.
Yeah.
I have not seen it at all, so I'm going to have to see this. But Tim Burton has done some really cool color stuff and desaturated color stuff, and then he had a black and white short that if you go to my King Kong at 90, the museum exhibition that I did a tour of, there is some stills, a concept art from the Vincent short. You can find it on YouTube. The short that Tim Burton made before he was Tim Burton, before Batman and all that, and Nightmare Before Christmas, and all that he's done. The little short Vincent, a little kind of love letter to Vincent, who was a guest in Edward Scissorhands. That was a Tim Burton movie. We'll get back to some black and white discussion, but Fred Hollis is wondering about the whole -1 thing. Who would like to tackle that? Or, I can explain, but I might have one of you guys get that on.
Go ahead. You want to, you tell
going.
Sure. Okay. Are you wondering about the title? Why it's called -1? I assume I've had to explain that a few times.
That's what he's asking.
Because they explained it in the trailer, but then not in the actual movie. So basically, after the war, Japan is reduced to nothing. They're taken down to 0. And then Godzilla shows up and makes it worse, less than 0. Now they're in the negative, so -1. Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. No, you nailed it.
You're right.
That was the explanation.
And what's funny
so it's
about that, I was going to say, kind of doesn't work about that, is that, yes, they were brought down to their knees. Tokyo devastated from the war effort. People have lost friends, family, all these things, their humanity. But they did rebuild. They don't anymore. Noriko even mentions, you should see Ginza. They're rebuilding fast. And it's like, so they're not at 0 anymore. I know Godzilla comes in, but there's cars, there's trains, there's city streets with shops and all kinds of things happening, and people are getting giant, so they're not back to 0. They're crawling up.
I was having a whole conversation with some people about this, like trying to figure out the math. Like, okay, what's the value of Godzilla? Because it's worse than 1. So if Japan was built up, so they're at 0, but then they got back up X, and then we subtract Y, which is Godzilla, so it's X with 1 more, and it was like 2. Well, then even -1, it's -1.0/C, which is division, so it should be divided by color, according to the poster.
We're just going to call the sequel Godzilla Algebra.
Godzilla solved for X.
Oh man, yeah.
Yes.
Kaiji United.
Hi,
Jacob is in the house. Thank you for being here, Jacob Lingle. And definitely everyone check out kaijiunited.com. We got him. Yes, we are recommending Black Cinema. Throw your recommendations. We'll see if we can add some to the collection, the physical media collection, if you have them, or go out there on Tubi, Netflix, Amazon, whatever, and find these films and, make them culturally relevant in your life. City, hereby bring him in, Jonathan, but adding the color accents. Yes. Mm-hmm. And Kurosawa, of course. Oh, one of my favorite, Harryhausen, right there. 20 million miles to Earth. Absolutely. And the 20 million Earth, other Harryhausens that have been recolored. A lot of the DVDs, Blu-rays give you the option to switch back and forth, which is what we're hoping for -1. But the 20 million miles to Earth in color, and Ray Harryhausen was actually against colorizing his black and white films. And then he got to see what this technology like, and he was quite satisfied with it, and so he allowed that. I think it came from Beneath the Sea. There's probably some others that I'm missing that were originally in black and white that have been colorized. I don't think Beast from 20,000 Fathoms was ever colorized, but I could be wrong. Could absolutely be wrong. yeah, the recommendations there, like the Seventh Seal, them, the Wolfman, of course, the Universal Monsters. Yeah, the Universal Monsters, the original Universal Monsters, all in black and white. That's what I mentioned. The Creature, my favorite Universal monster. Oh yes,
He's mine too, by the way.
Wood by Tim Burton.
Yep.
Yeah,
Ed Wood.
The Creature. Ed Wood. Yeah.
The Creature's been my favorite Universal monster since I was like a kid. There's just something about him that was just so cool, and he was a little bit different than the others. Again, the Mystery Science Theater connection. They watched the first season, or the very first episode on the Sci-Fi Channel was Revenge of the Creature. So very, very cool connection for me growing up with the Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Mm-hmm. And Ed Wood, have you seen?
I think you asked if we'd seen it. I saw parts of it when I was growing up, but I don't think I've ever watched the whole thing straight through.
Yeah. And Adam, no on Ed Wood?
No.
May have no. That is a great Tim Burton classic. Ed Wood, played by Johnny Depp. One of the very few, maybe only, I don't know, Tim Burton film that Danny Elfman did not do the score for. Or this was Howard was the director for Lord of the Rings, but he did this film about the worst director, essentially the worst director. He did a lot of really bad, lower than B movie size or rated, let's say, movies and horror films. Directed the legendary Plan 9 from Outer Space. Just experience it. There was Bride of the Atom, I think.
Yes.
And
wait, was it? Was there Bride of the Monster? Does that sound? Was that a Tor Johnson film? Oh, we lost him.
I tore,
or I did,
and yeah. Oh, still with me? Yeah. And there was
now I can hear you.
There you go.
Yeah, there was Glenn or Glenda, which was not a monster movie exactly, and but he was a real big fan of Bela Lugosi when Bela Lugosi was dealing with addiction. It goes into that because this is a biopic, and it has the it has Martin Landau playing Bela Lugosi, which was a fantastic choice. In fact, I believe he got an Academy Award for that role that he played. So yeah, when he was mentioned by that, so if I can, I don't know why StreamYard's being this way. It's probably me. I don't know. So Kaiju United recommends the first two Zatoichi. I do not know that name, but the Zatoichi Blind Swordsman film by Dai. But Jonathan again here, thinking it was like saying 54 was ground zero, so -1 would be before ground zero. Okay, yeah, it's another way to look at it. MST3 movie, yeah, this Island Earth colorized.
This Island Earth is in color, though, I think. Because I remember the plane distinctly glowing green in that movie.
Oh, so it wasn't originally black and white and colorized then?
It's an older film. It's definitely an older Universal film, but I'm pretty sure that one's in color. But Universal classic nonetheless. It's great. I don't know if you. I mean, I could name so many old like horror sci-fi films that were just awesome from that era. The Thing That Couldn't Die. I don't know if anyone's ever seen that movie. It was super cool. Disembodied head that haunts some people when they dig it up on someone's property. That one's a great one. Giant Mantis. If I think the Giant Claw, maybe someone can correct me. The Giant Claw, which is a terrible kaiju film, but it's hilariously bad. It is hilariously bad. It's like, it's
black and white.
Big as a battleship.
And everyone who started in that wanted everyone to forget about it. So, you're right. Okay, so thank you, John, Jake, for letting us know that. So, he was nominated for Best Supporting Actor. Okay, I guess I thought he may have won that. Tor Johnson, Beast of Yucca Flats. Tor Johnson, one of the staple characters, Ed Wood. Yep. And so, with that, moving on to back to Godzilla Minus One, and things that stood out in color or black and white. At least you mentioned, actually, Adam, something that actually stood out more to you in the black and white version was the ejection. Something that stood out to me more to me in the black and white version was actually Noriko's infection, or what it was. I don't know if that's explained by somebody out there in the collective knowledge of the internet, but I guess it's just going to be like the end of Shin Godzilla. We've got something for the possibility of a sequel. Hopefully we'll get, I guess. So, but anything that impact, keep being reminded of Godzilla Minus One. This scene comes to mind, and you replay it over and over again. Either one of you gentlemen.
You got something?
I was gonna say, the whatever that was seems so much more prominent in the black and white, in the minus color than
I agree with that.
Before.
Yeah, it definitely stuck out more. I think the and maybe I'm again, maybe I'm imagining things, but I do think the black rain appeared darker to me. Like it seemed to to pop more in the black and white version as opposed to the color. I think that's one of the scenes I really loved the most in black and white, was that the scene where he's screaming and the black rain starts falling. It was just such a powerful moment, and I think it worked really well in black and white.
I wish I could
particular moments. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, I wish I could have seen it in black and white first and then color to compare, because you can never go back. But no, well, like I went with one of my friends. He wasn't able to catch it when it first hit theaters, so this is his first time seeing it. So now I'm super curious to have him watch it in full color and see what he thinks. He said it was the best Godzilla movie he's ever seen, and I've shown him a lot of them. So.
After I was really hesitant because folks have talked about like recency bias and things like that, and I'm aware of it, although I think I do a pretty good job of compensating for that. But after the third time I saw it, I was just like, it's my favorite. I can't. It was really, I had to give it up. It is my favorite Godzilla movie of all time now, without a doubt. I absolutely love it.
And is there favorite moments, shots, whether from the color or black and white, that really stand out to you, that replay it? And I used it in the, and you'll see it in the Godzilla's deep roar after he uses his atomic breath in Ginza. That's absolute just feeling that you get from it, that you're Koichi looking at that creature, perspective that he absolutely obliterated your, essentially girlfriend, essentially fiance, wife, whatever, live-in wife. Basically, he's lost her, and he is shell-shocked by what he has just witnessed. And that moment with deep lungs crying out that roar was just that moment that I just want to go over and over. And it becomes that iconic moment that I think of when I think of Minus One. But yeah, gentlemen, throw out any particular shots or scene that kind of think of mine. That's the first.
Go ahead if something stands out to you, or if you need a minute, I'm happy to go. But go ahead.
The boat chase, the Jaws scene, and the close up. One specific shot is the close up where you see the mine in his mouth. I'm like, that is practical. That's not CG. That is a practical effect. There's no way that's CG.
Interesting.
There's no way.
You know, that's a really good one. One, you know, it's funny. A shot that stands out to me is, particularly in the color version, I definitely prefer it, is when he's flying the plane at the end. There's just something really gorgeous about how they shot him piloting that plane, the colors. It looks fantastic. And I was finding myself missing the color of the sky in the background, the scenery. I really, even the green, the colors of the uniform he's wearing and things like that. I really found myself longing for those colors during that particular part. But one of my favorite shots from the movie, because it is just such a powerful moment, is when they're reporting that Koichi ejected and Tachibana takes off. He's like almost crying. And it was just this powerful moment. I tear up every single time I've seen it. I fully will admit I've cried each time I've been there. Like, just to see the look on his face, like he was finally letting it go. And it was just this huge moment of catharsis for him, and you just feel that with him. And I've never heard anyone talk about it, but that moment, because I love Noriko, she's one of my favorite characters. Those moments are super powerful, but I just felt like that was such an underrated moment, was Tachibana hearing that he lived, that he ejected. That, and like the slight pause before he tells him about the ejection seat. Yeah. Where he's like, you're ready. And that's all I needed. Yeah. What a the whole thing was just beautiful how they set that up. It was really, really amazing.
That relationship between Tachibana and Koichi really just puts you into a place of these characters. You became either Tachibana or Koichi, depending upon maybe where you are. I think of in my life where there was difficult things to say, and he is carrying that burden, Koichi, and things start coming out about how he's a coward, or was a coward, and that's those moments when he's realizing Godzilla is bad, trying to explain to his crew aboard the wooden ship that this sea creature's out there. And it's like, wait a second, you were on Oda Island. That was a place for kamikaze pilots. Oh, you were a kamikaze pilot. And it was just, and so, they know what happened. But then there's that moment. It's like, it doesn't matter anymore. It really doesn't. And we've got a huge threat here. And then everything's about the redemption. Him being forgiven by Tachi, him the internal struggle and war. And then, even with his neighbor who was taking care of the little girl, it was like he almost had to be redeemed in her eyes too, by his actions and his self-sacrifice, or his willingness to self-sacrifice. Adrian's in the sure that you get a shout out, and Adrian's got the Monsters with Attitude, and so check out their channel. And of course, he's got his own channel, Godzilla Train 1090. Done some awesome stuff. Love that that thumbnail, that icon or profile picture you got.
That looks great.
Kind of looking familiar. So All right. Close to the end here, gentlemen. I want to know if there's any. Oh, go right ahead.
Oh, I apologize. I was just piggybacking off of your thought there, and the last one I wanted to mention. There's a line where Koichi says, "I'd like to try and live again." And for anyone who's ever gone through like a really traumatic experience and is kind of had to recover from that, like I just felt like that line alone was like just one of the most beautiful I've seen in the film. It resonated with me. And it was just like this real powerful moment that I think gets lost in all the big, flashier, more emotional moments. But to me, that one line really stands out and shines in the midst of it. Like I'd like to try and live again. In light of everything that's happened. So that was my last thought on the shots as far as that stuff goes.
Okay. Adam, any last thoughts before we start wrapping up this episode? Any last thoughts on -1? Minus color or color?
I mean, either way, it's a beautiful film. And I'm curious, like, if they'll release them as like separate releases, or if like minus color will be a special feature on the regular release. I'm like, do I get both?
I hope we get both.
Yeah.
2 Blu-ray sets,
Right.
If you want to, and maybe an English dub, who knows? So one last point from Fred before we go to the shout outs here. What parts of Godzilla -1, like most, is the hospital scene? Yes, that was a powerful scene, and when the most against the impact. And it might be even just from that line, is your war over yet? It's like she's been going through so much, and now he recognizes, her willingness to sacrifice, and that he's gone, and he have something to share this pain, this struggle that they've both gone through. And so that is a very, very impactful portion of this. So gentlemen, this has been awesome. I love talking about Godzilla with real Godzilla fans that just immerse themselves into this, and just excited to see what comes out next from Yamazaki, from Toho. So much that's happening, whether you're, a fan of what's happening even in the MonsterVerse, so there's just so much to immerse ourselves in with what's happening in the Kaiju universe. Give you guys the chance, Matt, if you would, shout outs, anyone you want to shout out, or tell us where they can find you again, and give yourself some promotions, shameless self-promotion.
Oh my goodness. There's always so many people I would need to shout out just because they've been such great part. Yourself, for example, have been a great supporter of what we're doing. My buddy John Bumpus over at Screonk, he and I do the Stompcast together, and we got to get back on that horse. But just a lot of great guys. My partner on the comic, Ron Mozicki, on Twitter, he's at RomoArt2. If you want to check out some of his other stuff. But if anyone would give us a follow, we're on Facebook, Twitter, and at www.insidesector7.com. We'll take you right to the Kickstarter sign up page. So we appreciate everyone taking the time to do so.
Excellent. Adam.
Yeah, actually, I realized I should shout out, because one thing I forgot to mention earlier, like I'm a sucker for props, and I don't know if anyone knows Shay Eversole. He's Kaiju US on Etsy, but we've been working on this, which is, I'm like, that's as prop as I can get from -1.
That's awesome.
So we're trying to figure out, like, painting a wood grain is really hard. So we're working on that, but. Otherwise, you can find me youtube.com/Thirsty Thursday Toys, or at Thirsty Thursday Toys. And that's where I'll be every Thursday, mixing up something new for you.
All right.
Yeah, shout out
excellent.
Jacob, who's actually here with us too. Kaiju United.
Kaiju United.
Just doing
That's right.
awesome things. So
Yes.
And he is a supporter. Like it's always good for us as content creators to work together, not apart, and not against each other. I think that it's the best thing to, like what he's doing is becoming a hub for content creation. Whether you don't have to be a podcaster or a YouTuber, you can be an artist, you can be a writer, and, coming, like I said, that hub, that place where Kaiju fans can come and share ideas and, get out our thoughts on these things, because we always have something to say and we want someone to listen to what we have to say, whether they are interested in it or not. We want them to listen because we just got to get this, it's just part of our lives, a big part of our lives. So Thirsty Thursday Toys, Inside Sector 7. Go check these guys out on all their social outlets and support them, support all that they do. And thank you all for being here. And I thank everyone for supporting Mort and all that we on of course, Facebook, Instagram, and on X, Twitter, whatever it's called. And of course, getting the subscriber base up, sharing this, and getting us to that big milestone. We're still working on it, and that's because of you guys. That's all possible. So again, gentlemen, here, and to the next time we have a panel and get to discuss something else Kaiju related.
sounds good.
Excellent.
Appreciate it again, and stick around and in the after show here, you gentlemen, and we'll say goodbye. But for everyone at home, good to have you. So to Monster Report Live. We will catch you next time.
あれはゴジラ